We are getting ready for our second conversation.
Yay.
Except we've had it. But we're going to introduce it now.
You'll see it in a minute.
You'll see it in just a minute. Actually, yes, you'll see it in just a minute. And this is being uploaded on, or it's going live anyway, on Wednesday, April 27th.
2016.
And that's when you will get to see it. We should tell them what we're eating and drinking.
Sure. What do you got?
As you see us eating and drinking. Oh, I am drinking Hardy and Sons blueberry. Can you see that? Or is it too dark? Anyway.
Blueberry green.
Blueberry green tea. Wonderful stuff.
Mm.
It's so tasty. And I have the wrapper. Belvita Bites.
What are those? They're like little cookies.
They're like little crackers, yeah. They're these little breakfast mixed berry, and they're little tiny.
Yeah.
I figured they would be good for Ryan.
He
And they
likes
were.
them. Yeah.
They're great.
There we go.
So they're very tasty. And they're just these little teeny things. They have them in bigger, they have them in bigger, like, biscuit sizes.
Okay.
So they're about, like, this big around.
I can see that being good for breakfast. Like, on the go people.
Mm-hmm. And they come 4 in a package. And they have different flavors.
Yeah.
They're tasty.
So I am drinking Numi's chocolate pu'er tea. Again. And, oh, it's good. I love
I
this.
almost had some.
Yeah. It's a good... It's decadent. That's all
It
you
is.
can
It's
say.
totally
It's
decadent.
It's decadent. So that's what I'm drinking.
The sections in this part 1, are we're going to have our giveaway.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about our giveaway.
Yay!
We're going to have our conversation in the topic today is how do you stay creative? We've talked about being an artist. Now we're going to talk about how we stay creative as artists.
Right. And we got off on a couple of tangents, but that's fine because you'll join us.
That's the point of conversations, is the fun little tangents that you follow sometimes.
Right.
They're not too tangential.
No.
And then we have shop updates. And we do have shop updates, right? Yes.
Yes.
We do have shop updates. And that's it.
Yay!
So, that's part 1.
We hope you enjoy. So we're going to talk a little bit about the giveaway that we're running, because who doesn't like a giveaway?
Free
Right?
stuff.
So there's going to be 2 prize drawings, and for each drawing, not for each drawing, and for them you can get up to 2 entries. So the first entry is going to be via YouTube in order to qualify for the drawing list, is I guess the way I'm going to say that.
Okay.
The drawing list is you need to subscribe to the YouTube channel and comment below. Then the other way to get your entry is through the Ravelry group. And so you have to be a member of the group. Go ahead and join the group and comment on the giveaway thread that I've started. Then with either of those comments, you need to comment either skein or spindle. And that tells me which list that you want to be on.
And you can see the skein and the spindle in our special project part 1.
There you go, right. And so the spindle is from is a Rendell from Runyon Artware, and the skein is a skein of Black Opal from Colorful Eclectic.
Beautiful.
And then see, the contest closes May 15th, and we'll be announcing winners via the podcast after that. The next time we record, and that'll be up by June 1st, I think I said, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's right.
And the winners have 30 days to claim their prize after we post the that, and if there is nobody claiming the prize, we'll select a new winner. So I think that covers it. What do you think, Jen?
They could comment on any of the YouTube episodes.
Yes.
That's the only thing that I thought of that I didn't hear clarified, but other than that, we're good.
Perfect.
Excellent.
All right.
That's
Good
our
luck.
giveaway. last week we talked about, last conversation, it was 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago for you guys, because this is, we'll have to look at the schedule for when it's getting uploaded. You'll get that in the intro. You will have already heard when this is, God, that was weird.
That's the problem with recording ahead of time.
I know.
That's okay.
But it works for us, and it gets you the information and keeps us sane.
Sanity is a
More or
short supply in my house.
More or less. Anyway, 2 weeks ago, we were discussing, our conversation was about what makes an artist an artist. And we came to the conclusion that we're both artists.
Yes.
Big shock that we would have come to that conclusion.
Right,
But, and we will put a link, to that conversation here, probably?
Just say in the down bar.
Somewhere.
In the down bar.
I might put it on screen, too.
Oh, okay. Are you going to... Oh.
So, I could get fancy. We'll see if I can swing that. If I can swing it, we might get a link on screen, but at least it'll be down below.
Right.
To that conversation. Anyway. And one thing that we did get to is that artists create.
Yes.
Now, the criteria of what they create, and do they create enough, and do they create enough of the right kind to be an artist, that was kind of what our conversation was. But it was kind of a given that we create stuff.
Right.
We make stuff.
Yeah.
You make stuff.
Can't really be an artist if you don't have proof of it.
Well, you can, but it's a little more challenging to get people to buy in. It's easier.
Emperor has no clothes.
That's a little more challenging. They did create something, though. They were bullshit artists. Right?
Truth.
So, con artists. That's better. They were con artists. But anyway, so artists create stuff. And we have stuff. Lots of stuff. Just finished. Just wove the ends in. You'll hear about it more in the finished objects. So anyway, we create stuff, but we get stuck creating stuff. We get down on ourselves creating stuff. That was kind of the definition of artist that really struggled with us, that we were talking about, because is our stuff of a certain caliber?
Right.
When does it become, when does the stuff you make reach the caliber of artist, that you can label yourself an artist, that you can call yourself, that other people will call you an artist? When does it hit that point? And all artists that I know of, famous or not, struggle with the process of creating their stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What is inspiring? What yarn is worth doing something with? What pattern works? As a designer, is this going to be a good enough pattern that people will like it? That they'll want to buy it? That they'll want to knit it? That they'll enjoy it? I mean, all of this, God, we have a lot of angst.
It's almost like being a teenager again.
Yeah. Man, we just have tons of angst, and we have tons of worry, and is it good enough, and are we good enough? We gotta fix that somehow. But anyway, that's not quite the topic for today. We'll put that down as a topic. Fixing angst as a topic for a future thing, because that probably is a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Because it shouldn't be angsty. You can't be in your flow if you're angsty.
True.
So, we are about creating, though.
Yes.
What stops us? When do we get stuck? How do we get unstuck?
Right.
The writer's block thing. Only, can you get yarn block? Well, we won't go there.
I think they call
images.
That wool blocking
Images.
animals, but no.
Whoa, we won't go there. Both of us have had Angora rabbits. So anyway, that reference is particularly poignant for us.
Right?
Anyway, so, I mean, I know me, I actually have been kind of struggling lately because I'm trying to create these new patterns. I want to work on those, but I had all these other works in progress. So I'm feeling pretty guilty that I had all these other works in progress that I had picked all the things for. Because for me, it helps to keep things in check and to keep creating if I kind of can do it in little pieces, in little stages.
Okay.
So like I pick the pattern for I'm weaving in the ends. I pick the pattern for the waiting for rain. And I went, oh, and then I found the yarn. Had to have that yarn. Had to have this shawl in that yarn. And then, so I did it in I made those decisions in little pieces. Then I gathered the yarn. Then I wound the yarn. Then one day I cast it on. And then I started working on it. And then something else came up. So I worked on something else. And then I worked on this little bit. And then I had it. And because of how the lace sections go, because there's those short row lace sections, I could do the long garter stitch anytime, anywhere, practically. Although I was a little picky about the fiber that I was working with. Because it's 100% Angora. Nice. I'm not going to just, like, track it off to camping. This is not camping knitting.
Right.
Right? Not that I went camping, but not in all the snow we've been getting lately. But I digress. We still have, those choices involved. And so I would save the lace parts for, we're going to watch a show. So now I don't have to pay that much attention to the show. I can put it on my stitch markers. I can pay attention enough to the lace because lace is not that difficult for me anymore.
Right.
And then get it done. And so I could get that short row lace section then onto the garter. Then I kind of set that aside and did something else that was more challenging in that time space that I still had.
Right.
And then I would pick up this to do the garter sections just whenever.
So
waiting for a doctor's office.
Knitting.
Yeah. I'm kind of contextual about it. And that helps keep me going because there's always something that I can make progress on. I always have something that I can make progress on. Or try to always have something. Like my trillion. With that peacock yarn that I can just knit on.
Right.
Or the lentilla. Now I know that pattern. I don't even have to have the pattern with me. All I have to have is the yarn and the needles.
Right.
Because I know what I need to do. And the trillion the same way.
Right.
Now, the trillion's going to get to a point pretty quickly that I'm going to have to go that other direction. And that's going to be new. So then I'll have to wait.
Right.
And then I'll have to find myself a new garter stitch project.
Oh,
I have one. I have one. The shawl that I need to knit for Genuine. That Blush and Bashful one.
That?
So
you already have the next
I already have that one.
Up.
Exactly. So that's what I mean. That just in little parts and stuff. But I still have times when I get overwhelmed and stuff like that.
Right.
That's the main way I deal with it. But still, I can pick my energy level, having all those different progress. But, like I said, and if you go to my Ravelry page and look, you will see how many works in progress. Because I've picked the yarn, picked the pattern, stuff like that. And it's 30-ish.
Current whips.
Yeah, and I don't even have all of them up on Ravelry. I keep finding more.
But everything you've started this year.
No, not everything I've started. I mean, everything I have started this year, yes.
Yes.
But I have, like, archaeological projects at this point.
That's a good phrase.
From my move. Yeah, they're like archaeological finds. I'm like, I have this. Shoot. I have to figure out if I'm keeping this one or not.
Right.
So how do you deal with that? Because you have to deal with it, right? Don't you deal with it?
I do.
The whole creation drama?
So when I'm stuck, I deal with it a couple of different ways.
You go to the yarn store. That's another way I cope, by the way.
Sometimes I go looking for inspiration. So that might mean perusing Instagram, Ravelry finished projects, Pinterest. I've got a lot of good yarny type feeds coming into my Pinterest. And so, that makes me go, oh, well, that would be a cool project. Well, if I want to get to that one, I can get this other one off the needles so that I can get to that one.
Oh, okay. Do you limit how many projects you have on needles?
Sort of yes, sort of no. I get stressed out if there's too many, but I don't know what number is too many.
Does it depend on what kinds of projects they are, do you think?
Very much so. Like right now I have a sweater on the needles, like actively in process, and I have another sweater like waiting to go. Like I've picked the pattern, I've picked the yarn, I've wound yarn, I've got
like
needles,
really ready
I've
to go.
swatched. It just needs to, seriously, I just need to sit down and start. But I'm not letting myself start that yet. Okay. I even took my bag with all of the things in it into my room to work on it the other day, and I read through the pattern again because it's been a little while, and I was just like, oh, I really want to do this, but
ooh, that big butt,
right? So I decided that no, it wasn't the right time to go ahead and start that. I just set it aside, and I picked up something else that was nice and comfortable, and so I got some work done on a sock instead.
Yeah, I have had that happen too. I had that happen just really recently where it was with the double knit thing that I needed, the sample that I need to get done for the class. And I was like, I need to knit this. I need to get it going. And I sat down and I got ready to do it, and I couldn't quite face it. I was able to do a few more little steps, like plan how many stitches I needed to cast on and stuff like that. So when I'm ready, I really can just cast it on and get going with it.
Right.
But I don't know why, but I just couldn't face it. I like the project. I mean, of course I would. It would be good for me to like the project since I designed it and I'm teaching it and everything, but
there's that.
But there's also just, I just couldn't face it that night.
I totally get that. I feel like I have to be, there is a natural ebb and flow to what I feel prepared to work on. There are times where I feel completely prepared to work on my hat, but maybe not. And I set it back down.
And I thought you were ready to work on it, and then you pick it up and you're just like...
And I think that's why I always have a vanilla sock on the go. Because at this point, I can do a vanilla sock without thinking about anything. And I think that's also why I have my sock yarn blanket. Like the Cozy Memories blanket.
I haven't started one. I got my lamp. I'll put a picture in here. So you can see this lamp, because it's cool.
It's for your scraps.
Yeah.
Nice.
To hold all my scraps. That one that you told me about. I sent you the story.
Yes.
So
that plays into it as far as like, sometimes it's just it's not an energy issue. It's not a time issue.
Is it a creative issue? Is it you just don't feel inspired by it at that moment?
That's very possible. Very possible. I think it's sometimes I need a new shiny. It's that this has worn out its welcome in my world. It just
doesn't have a sparkly anymore.
Right. And so I have to sometimes give myself permission to say, all right, you're going into either short-term hibernation or long-term hibernation. And if it's, long-term hibernation, it could be 18 months before I dig that sock out again like I did this weekend.
So, yeah. And time isn't as much a deal for me as it is for you, though, too. Does that play a factor for you? How much time you have available?
It helps me choose which projects I work on.
Because kind of like me.
Right.
As far as, like, I've got a few minutes, I can choose this yarn. Or I've got a little bit of time, but I kind of need to be available. I could wind yarn for a few minutes.
Right. For me, it's is there another adult in the house that can help with baby? Or am I here? Is he sleeping? If he's sleeping, I can pick up some lace. Is it my early morning time that I've got to myself, that everybody is at home in bed? Or at home in bed. Everybody's asleep in bed. And if that's the case... You just
banish everybody to their room sometimes. Go to your rooms.
No, it's... In my house, there's a rule. You are not allowed to be out of bed before 7 a.m. Mm-hmm. Because the time before that, if I'm up early, that's mine. Don't touch it. Yeah. The only one that's allowed to break that rule is my husband.
I mean, you better have a damn good reason.
Generally his reason, because he loves his sleep, generally his reason is because he's got to go to work. So, I'm not going to rag on him for that. But seriously, my time in the morning, that's sacred time to me. So, that's when I can choose to knit something a little more complex. So, what was it, Friday?
Yeah,
I think it was. Yeah. I slept in on Sunday all the way to 7 o'clock.
Well, there was how many feet of snow outside? How easy was that to do?
I still think some people think 7 o'clock is not sleeping in. Anyway,
I'm starting to think 7 o'clock is sleeping in.
Right.
But I don't experience 7 o'clock as sleeping in. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. I can think of it as, 7 o'clock. Oh, yeah, I'm late. I'm kind of getting there, dang it. Where I think 7 o'clock is late. But I don't feel like 7 o'clock is late yet.
You'll get there.
You say that like it's a good thing.
It's a fantastic thing.
Okay.
One of the most productive people in my life was my grandfather before he passed away. That man used to be up at 4 a.m. daily. And it's not just because he was an older man who, it seems like older guys have to be up at the crack of dawn or before. But he just was one of those guys that was super productive. And I don't know this to be fact because I didn't have the opportunity to ask him before he passed. But I would swear that he loved the idea of his alone time in the mornings.
I do like the idea of it. I just can't quite...
Right.
Anyway.
We're continuing on a digression. But anyway, but that's when I have the opportunity
that same thing. We need to recover our train of thought.
Right. But that's when I have the opportunity to be able to knit complex things. When I know for sure I have time, I'm by myself, and I can do focused things in the morning. Mm-hmm. Like, for me, lace is a focused thing because even if I have the pattern, I don't like the word memorized, but if I have it kind of there, and I can...
You just have to reference it. You don't have to be following it.
Right. And I still need to have some awareness, whereas, just a vanilla sock, that's forever. Right. So, that's part of it.
Yeah, like right now, I just made the choice. I had a choice. I've been finishing things while we've been doing stuff, and I finished woven my ends in of this first when we were recording those other things. And then finished my Waiting for Rain just now. I wove in the two ends I had. And then I thought, well, I could pick up my brioche scarf and finish it. Or I could just pull out the trillion and just work on it.
Right.
And I went, I really want to focus on our conversation more than I want to focus on measuring and do I have it the right length, and there's still a tiny bit of decision making left in putting the fringe on that brioche scarf.
Right.
So I chose to do this.
Right.
And it's fascinating to me how many little decisions get made.
Definitely.
How many, and I think that's one thing that we don't realize is, and I'm learning a little more about this decision-making thing through some of the books I'm reading.
Mm-hmm.
That one regarding willpower.
Mm-hmm.
And how decision fatigue really can make a difference. And I think sometimes we don't give ourselves a break from decision fatigue. And we actually heap it on ourselves as creators, because we're like, oh, we have to get just the right color.
Yeah. Instead
of just a color that is going to work.
I think that's definitely something that we have pinpointed to discuss further.
Yes, we have. But the reason it sparked to come up and deal with right now, just a little bit, is because I can see elements of it in the, I can see it potentially creeping into the creative process in the peacock shawl.
Mm.
Because we have so many choices, and there's a fine line between that exploring different things and exploring how it works.
Sure.
And becoming paralyzed by, oh, I have to have it perfect.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. What's that quote? Oh, good heavens, I wish. Perfection is the enemy of the good.
Yeah.
I can't remember who said it, so if I remember,
we'll put a credit there somewhere.
Yeah. I can't say, and for me, that's played such a part in dying so frequently.
Oh, yeah.
Because I've got to get this perfect. This has got to be just right.
And for a while, it paralyzed me in spinning, because I'm like, oh, I have all this fiber. I have to get it right. I have to spin it right. Knitting right was more functional.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you form the stitches right, you can get them technically correct.
Right.
If they are technically incorrect, you can repair them, either by pulling it out and doing it again, or dropping down and fixing it somehow. So there's a way to fix a technical incorrectness in knitting. But once it's spun,
you can't
your options are much more limited.
Right.
I mean, I still have this yarn. If I decide I don't like this anymore, I could pull it all out and still have the yarn to do something else with.
Right.
But once my yarn is spun up, I'm kind of committed to that.
Right.
Once it's plied, I can still kind of take it apart. And there's some things that I can do to tweak the twist and stuff, and some finishing techniques I can do. But I'm limited in my choices once I've committed to that point. Kind of like, once you put the dye on, it's not white yarn anymore.
Right. Definitely.
Well, there's some other choices you can do to change it, but once it's on there, you've at least got that commitment. You're committed in that way. You can't take the dye out and get it to white yarn anymore.
Right. You can always go black.
You can always go black.
Can't go back to white.
Can't go back to white.
But that's also for sewing.
Yeah, once you cut that fabric,
I mean, you can patchwork it together to where you can build something else, so it's recoverable.
Right.
But
yeah,
cutting fabric is a finality to it.
Yeah, it does. Once you cut it, I think that's the thing that really scared me about sewing for a long time.
Right. Same thing with strokes on a canvas. First stroke on the canvas, bullet journaling.
Oh, I know. That's one of the reasons I've got all of these pristine journals that you inspired me. But I'm like, I don't want to mess it up.
Right? So I think I'm having the same issue. I've opened one of them, right? I started with sticky notes because I wanted to get it just right. And the idea behind the bullet journal is not to have something beautiful and perfect. I mean, granted, that's what inspired me to do it. But
yeah, Boho really intimidates me.
Right? But its function is what I need.
Yeah.
And so I really need to, let that go. So part of my thought is just to get past the intimidation factor is going to be to just go mess up a page. Like, randomly open the book and mess up a page.
Cool. The whole time we've been talking about this, I remember some movie or show or something, this scene where the person was paralyzed. They couldn't start. Mm-hmm. And the instructor comes over and draws this big line right across their canvas. Their paper or whatever they were drawing or painting, this big line. He says, there, now it's ruined. You can't mess it up anymore. Make something.
Right.
And I went, and that freed me somewhat.
Mm-hmm.
I still get this overwhelm. I don't have the same kind of overwhelm. And I really wonder about that because you said you do feel overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. And I really don't. I feel guilt more than overwhelm. Because I can break it up into little parts. Mm-hmm. And do little pieces. I sometimes have a hard time picking. But I wonder, my mother, it reminds me of my mother in a fabric store. I never understood this. We would go to shopping for fabric, and she ended up sewing me stuff instead of me sewing. Again, story for another time. My sewing stuff will come out, but not today. But we'd be in a fabric store, and I'd be just getting into it. I'd be just getting into, this color and this fabric and this print with this thing, and starting to imagine the possibilities. And my mother would be all of a sudden like, we gotta go. We gotta go. We gotta go now. I'm like, what? What's going on? Just decide. Pick something, let's go. And I'm like, I was just getting into my zone to choose, to do all of that. My creative thing had just gone, and I had to, quit. And I always felt like I didn't make a very good decision and I couldn't get enough. And I never figured out what was going on with her until much, much later. And she shared with me that she gets to a point in fabric stores that she starts feeling claustrophobic.
Oh.
Because she sees all of the fabric and she sees all of the potential projects that could be made with that fabric. Mm-hmm. And then she sees and feels and experiences all the time and everything that would be involved in creating all of those projects with the fabric. And so it just starts feeling closer and closer and closer and more overwhelming for her. And so she couldn't stand it anymore. She had to get out.
Okay. Because
every piece of fabric in there, or all these pieces of fabric in here, too many of them for her, were saying, hey, make me, make me, make me. And she could see all of the possibilities, and she didn't have the time and ability to commit to those projects, but she wanted to make them. Her creative stuff was going overload.
So that makes me wonder if something like Pinterest for her would have been an amazing resource where she could be like, these are all the ideas that I really want to make, but I don't have to today because I put it out there onto my pin board. No. Or if it would be the same thing for her as the fabric shop of, all the ideas, I must make them now.
I think it might be that way for her. I don't know.
Is that way for you guys?
Yeah.
That would be very interesting to know.
If anybody experiences that same thing. Because it's interesting. I've never experienced that in a yarn shop. It doesn't matter how many. And it doesn't matter how much yarn I buy or how many patterns I have. Even with all of those projects, I don't feel overwhelmed. I feel annoyed.
That you don't have enough time to make them all?
That I can't just sit down and make all of them. Or that I may put some of them on hold because now my own ideas, I want to design my own stuff.
Right.
And I'm like, dang it. Now I can't just design my own stuff and make all the fun things other people have come up with.
I think that's part of the reason why I'm kind of feeling saturated in my stash at the moment.
Oh.
Because I do feel like, I want to make that thing. I can't make it right now. Well, but I could get the yarn and do that. But I can't make it right now. And so if it's in my house and I can't make it right now,
it's bothering you. So you do have kind of a version of that.
Yeah.
Because once
but
you
it has
have
to be
it in
my
your
house. If I'm at a shop or any of that, I can totally appreciate all of the beauty that is.
And you can
right?
walk away.
Totally walk away. But I think once it comes into my house, I feel like, oh, I have an obligation to it.
Mine bothers me to bring it home. Although I will tell you, I've had less of it since I freed my stash. And at some point we'll probably be filming we'll do one of the episodes in my office.
Yeah.
Since I freed my stash, and you've seen pictures of my freed stash, I don't feel so compelled to buy quite as much, except for yours. Which I feel like every time I come, I'm like, oh, I need that one and that one and that one.
I already have this one, but
this is slightly different, so I need it too.
Anyway. I'm not going to apologize for that.
Nor should you. So anyway, I just don't feel the same thing. And I think it's because I can see everything. So, and they're not bothering me. None of it's bothering me. It's nice. Because I'm like, oh yeah, you're there. Okay, yeah. Oh cool, I could do something with you. Oh, interesting. And so I see all of this. And so it's like I sound like I'm have a mental problem or something because I'm talking about having conversations with my yarn. But
you're having conversations with your inner artist. You're not having a conversation with an inanimate object.
Thank you. Because it felt like I was having conversations with my yarn.
And if you were, it's no big deal because yarn loves you.
Okay. We'll go with that. We'll go with it's okay because yarn loves me.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, it's just that's interesting, that combination. And that you reach that saturation point within your house.
Yes. Now, granted, I live in a very small house. And there are 4 of us here now. And
I'm amazed she's sane. I'll just say that.
Nobody said I was sane.
I do things to help promote her sanity all the time.
Right? But, so, if I had my druthers and I had my own creative space, I think I would feel a little bit differently about it because like you, I would have displays. So the yarn would serve the purpose of not only being something someday, but also decorating my sacred space. So part of my saturation is small space. And not having a great ability to display.
Is this... Sorry, we were talking about spaces. My husband ended up in my office just the other day, and he looked around and he said, will there ever be a point where you have enough? And I said, and I'm thinking about creative, and I'm actually really considering this, and it really actually relates to this topic, because I said, well, no, and this really distressed him. Not for the reason I thought, but because he went, will there ever be enough that you won't need more space for it? Will we just keep having to accumulate more and more and more and more and more? Is this just like some weird compulsion you have because you're not doing anything with all of this? It's just sitting here. And I went, well, probably not. And I asked him the same thing about tools and about supplies. And he says, no, I mean, sure, you may want to order more for a new project or something, but just, you don't feel compelled. You don't feel like the space is empty and you need more just to need more.
Right.
And I went, oh, okay, well, yeah, probably. He goes, good, because I was about to order a container for you.
Like a shipping container.
Like a shipping container. And I'm like, well, I'm not turning that down. Because there are fleeces. And he goes, oh my God. He doesn't know how many fleeces I have. He's just kind of, it's not that I'm hiding them from him. He just doesn't care. And so they like pop into his awareness as he passes them or as they go by, and he's like, "Oh, that has nothing to do with me. I don't need to track that in any way." Mm-hmm. So he forgets about them. So he really doesn't know that I have, like you said, are you going to buy some fleece at Fleece Market? I'm like, not sure.
Maybe.
Anyway, maybe, but, well, I might be getting a container, so.
If you get a container, I might, like, rent a small portion of the container.
Done. Apparently I'm getting a container. Because I have not turned this down. He's even figured out where it's going to go. Anyway.
Paint me jealous.
I told him I was going to tell people and that they were just going to die.
How big are these containers? Like,
well, you can get them different sizes, but they're big.
Like an average container is like what?
8 foot tall by...
Well.
Anyway, there's different sizes you can get.
Right.
Yeah.
That's like the size of 1.5 bedrooms, like square footage wise.
Yeah. People use them as like...
I know.
Shelters and stuff. The real fanatical prepper people can be turned into shelters, living spaces.
I've seen
They're
them
big.
turned into some gorgeous homes.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, we're digressing.
But it does go to the creative. Anyway, the part that mattered for creativity is I'm not completely sure, I'm not completely convinced I want it. Because as soon as it's put away, it's not present to be a part of the creativeness. Right. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I don't have it. It's not that I forget about it. Because I don't forget that I have fleeces and alpaca blankets. I don't forget that. They're not saying, hey, maybe in a little bit of your spare time you could find some time to do something with me. They're all put away nicely.
Right. They're not inspiring.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. That's the word.
Is huge. Inspiration is huge.
There's not the inspiration factor if they're put away.
Right.
So, I don't know.
I will say that sometimes inspiration takes me down other avenues.
Well, yeah, the inspiration took us down a totally different avenue with the Peacock project.
Right. And in different genres.
Oh, yeah.
I've been consumed by bullet journaling lately. And last November-ish, it was sewing project bags.
I know you were like doing all of this sewing.
Right? And
your curtains and
my curtains, and I bought enough fabric to make 3 skirts, and I drafted a pattern to make the skirts. Now, are the skirts made?
No.
But that's just because inspiration left for a little while.
Yeah.
I fully believe inspiration comes back, and that's something that I like, that idea presented by Elizabeth Gilbert in Big Magic.
I'm not familiar with this. Okay, apparently I need to get familiar with this really fast. If any of the rest of you are familiar with this, please share. Let us know.
If you're not, and you want a book about not fearing creativity.
Ooh.
Big Magic.
Okay, Big
Elizabeth
Magic.
Gilbert. She talks about inspiration coming into your life, but also if you don't communicate with that inspiration or engage it in any way, that it's free to leave.
Ooh.
And so, and it may go find someone else. To make it come to fruition. So
she talks about it as if this project has a will of its own and wants life. And wants to come into life.
Very much. And she's a writer, so
I'm not sure
she talks at it from a writer's perspective of, you know, she talks about a book idea that she was actively working on and what brought it into her life and how she connected with another writer, like a physical touch connection with another writer. And they never discussed this project, but that other writer came up with the same idea. And they believe that it was through that physical touch that that idea kind of transferred. It's very interesting.
I'm not sure I could quite get behind that. But I have very much had the experience that in my kind of context for it is there is just stuff out there. We've got enough inspirations and thoughts and things out there that the ideas will occur to somebody. Somebody will have the idea. And if somebody doesn't have it, then somebody else will get it.
Right.
So if you have this idea and you think it's a good one, you should move on it. Because somebody else may end up with a similar idea. Not because they stole it from you or anything, just because there's enough of everything out there in the universe.
Right.
And enough things in our society and enough stuff moving and enough information, enough sharing and enough everything that somebody else is going to kind of come across that same stuff and come up with a form of the idea somehow.
Oh, it's the
Yeah.
Tesla and oh gosh, the other guy, Edison.
Oh,
Tesla and Edison coming up with different ways to approach electricity.
AC and DC.
And
yeah, the
having
reason
two
that
different
one,
results.
yeah, exactly. There's more there. There's
Of course.
political stuff there as to why we got one over the other. But there are all of these ideas. I mean, the TV got invented. You know, there's all of these debates over who invented something first.
Right.
But it's kind of like there are ideas whose time have come, and so they come. We've gotten slightly off, but still in the creative thing that you need to seize on it, kind of when the moment happens, and go for it.
Definitely.
But you shouldn't let that pressure you, I don't think.
No.
It shouldn't become a big thing that you need to feel guilty about or worried about if you don't immediately have it.
Right.
And that we get overwhelmed, and how do we deal with that? And I think all that's good stuff.
Definitely.
So, I guess now's the time for... Do you have anything else you wanted to wrap up?
I think I've
feel
expelled all of my words.
Oh, we're not out of words yet.
For that topic
at the moment. We could be re-inspired fairly easily, though.
Always.
But we want to hear also from you, like usual. We want to know what helps you stay motivated. How do you find your creativity? Do you work on more than one project at a time because it helps you manage your creativity? Or is that too overwhelming for you and you just like one thing and to finish it at a time, and that's manageable for you and that's how you work through it? Do color choices paralyze you? Do you find it invigorating and fun to go and play with color and make all of those choices? Do you have times where you're totally stuck and you can't get going on it and nothing seems cool? And then how do you kickstart or find your lost creative mojo?
Right. Yeah.
For lack of a better word.
I like the word mojo.
I know. Anyway. Those are our questions for you, and that was our topic. How do you stay creative?
Join us in the Ravelry group or in the comments in the YouTube or on the blog comments.
Or on the blog. And remember, when you're joining Ravelry and making comments, include Skeiner Spindle. And the YouTube too. Skeiner Spindle.
There you go.
Alrighty. Okay, so shop updates. My shop, Genuine, and it's not only my shop, but Runyon Artware also. Both of their websites are not really working right now. I'm sorry. So if you try to go find us to get stuff or do stuff, it's not working. You really need to go for the spindles, for the rundles, contact the Recycle Them. They have some in stock.
Right.
And we are making some new spindles.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah, some new designs. Really pretty new designs. And making some light ones as well. And I'm working on new patterns. So there's a whole lot going on behind the scenes. And I will let you know as soon as we have anything new on the websites. You can go check them if you want, but they're kind of broken and looking really lame right now. So if you want to see a working website, just wait a little bit and I'll let you know when they're working.
Coming soon!
Exactly. Coming soon to an internet near you.
Awesome. So that's for both Genuine and...
For Genuine and Runyon Artwork. The websites are not. And the shops are not. Genuine's shop is non-existent. Runyon's shop is not.
That's okay. Okay. They'll be coming soon. Okay, so the Colorful Eclectic shop updated on April 6th, and there are several skeins still in stock, including some of the Blaze and Black Opal. And a new colorway, self-striping, called Magical, is going to be in the shop soon. So the next shop update is going to be on May 6th, about 6 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time.
Watch your Instagram, Colorful Eclectic.
There we go. Thank you. Looking for new and fun patterns and books? Genuine is a great source. Working with local Colorado designers and featuring indie dyers like Colorful Eclectic in their patterns, Genuine will help your knitting stay interesting, creative, and colorful. Check out their ever-growing collection of patterns and books at www.genuine.biz.